Welcome to the Startup Grind.
Okay. All right, so welcome to Startup Grind Cyprus chapter. Today we have with us the founder and CEO of BlastTV, as well as the founder of the Core 360, which is a data operating system. And with us here is Zutphen. All right, so let's begin and start our second meeting for Startup Grind Cyprus. So the first question that I'm just going to ask you, which is what everyone I'm sure always asks you, is how'd you end up in Cyprus?
Woman.
Good answer.
Yeah, my wife is from Cyprus. I met her 10 years ago. I'm Canadian. I grew up most of my years in Washington D.C. So I met my wife. She was working in the Cyprus embassy, and we came on vacation here, probably in 1999. And I really fell in love with Cyprus. And I actually talked to her into moving back here more than her dragging me. I dragged her back here. And so that's been pretty amazing. It's been, I guess, 11 years. So I guess I'm an adopted Cypriot at this point.
And were you always in the technology business, or did that just kind of come to you in Cyprus or before Cyprus? How did
Yeah,
that happen?
before Cyprus. I started off, because I grew up, from 13 years old on in Washington, D.C. Either you worked in the government or you went to law school. And so I went to law school. So I started off as a lawyer and gravitated pretty quickly into intellectual property law. So as part of that, the first big case I ever worked on was suing Oracle. And so I had to actually learn Oracle and why they stole this from our little client and why they were big and bad. And, it was tremendous amount of technology I had to learn just working on that case. I was very young, 22. And so I got, really enjoyed the tech part more than the law part, really. And by the time I was 27, I kind of reverse migrated myself down the food chain from, high-powered DC lawyer, making partner in a firm to, business guy to developer, And so from 27 on, I really became a developer, and until I found people who could code better than I could a few years later.
Okay, so did you actually have a startup in the States, or was your first startup in Cyprus?
Well, yeah, the first startup was in the States.
Okay.
And it was a pretty successful company called Go Members. It was software for association management, so it was membership management, subscriptions management, dues management, accounting systems. It was really complicated software. But my role in that was more on the business side. I was setting the tech direction early on, and that company became a very big commercial success. But I got a bit bored with that kind of genre. I wanted to do something more universal and more entrepreneurial. That was a great business. But again, from when I was 28, it was just a series of ventures for me that are all mostly self-funded.
And you're an East Coast guy, not a West Coast.
Yeah, East Coast guy. I mean, although when I was growing up, it was Calgary, Alberta, which is more of close to the Texas and West Coast culture. But from 13, spending 20 years in D.C., I'm for East Coast mentality.
Right. So the VCs must really have a lot to talk to you about, being a lawyer and a technology kind of.
Yeah, it's a bit. I guess it's.
You see both sides.
I do see both sides. I've always had a great affinity for California culture, the innovative nature of, they're the real pioneers. The people went west. But I kind of understand the mentality of the East Coast a bit better. I think I'm a little out of place if I were to hang out in Silicon Valley. I don't think I'd fit in too well.
Okay, so you had Go Members, and after that, what was the next progression?
So the next progression, there was a series of progressions where I did a number of things, but underneath them all, we were always sort of
there at the moment, but did you know that what you were working on was going to be this whole social layer that we're using now, the Facebooks, actually the Friendster and the MySpace before that?
Yeah, I actually did. I didn't know the form that it would take and how really huge it would be. You know, it's hard to visualize back then. I mean, the biggest number you could come in your head would be 1 million users and something. I mean, it wasn't 1 billion users, wasn't even in the vocabulary, right? You know, this was just crazy to think. But you know, we thought, you know, but no, I really modeled human interaction, and that's universal. Whether you're doing any kind of communication, there's certain things that are going on. So whether it's social networking, whether it's you know, business productivity applications, whether it's how you're moving around on your mobile phone, there's certain kind of ways the objects are interacting, and we weren't really modeling that actually, and it's equally applicable to social networking. But social networking only uses a subset of the data model. It's a very simplistic, just I know you, we share this picture, and we have this group in common. Whereas the actual models underneath are really far more elaborate if you take into account, you know, all the way business people interact with projects and different things of that nature.
So this became the original Core 360. Was this was the beginning of this platform or
Yes.
this structure?
Yeah, and in all fairness, we didn't really have a clear, you know, it's like just having a foggy idea that this way is north and we're going north.
Yeah.
And then later when you get to the North Pole, you look like a genius and you knew all along where you're going. But it's just this foggy feeling like we should be doing something in the cloud, it should be these data objects, and that supports all these different kind of things. And you know, now I can very specifically and intelligently describe what it is we're building. But 10 years ago, if you talked to me, I would have sounded like a bumbling idiot. I wouldn't really been able to make those differentiations. But now it's been, you know, it's quite mature, you know, what I'm describing, and it's quite appropriate because now the entire world is moving into this world, you know, cloud computing, you know, which is really just internet, right? That could be streaming porn, can be cloud computing. And so I like to describe it as a data operating system because that helps people ring the analogy in more of thinking, yeah, they used to have, you know, the Sony Walkman, right? And then, you know, a computer is far more elaborate with an operating system, and you build layers on top of that. And that's far closer to what the core was. And I think a great testament to either how lucky we were with our direction of this way is north was that we've been able to build social initiatives, BlastTV, R360 business productivity apps, all off the exact same underlying engine with very, very minor modifications, which kind of really shows that there is a model of how, you know, communication and objects interact, and it's not quite rocket science, but we're kind of proud that we feel that we're way ahead on that.
So when you were doing this, was your initial idea, you and your team, was it to just build a platform so you can easily iterate or easily launch your own social initiatives, your own applications, or was it to say, I'm going to take this platform and I'm going to do something, for instance, like an Oracle or like these big enterprises and sell it to the enterprises? Or was it a little both? Like, what was your business model when you were thinking about this?
You know,
where there was none?
It's far uglier than that. Yeah, it's really trying to salvage success out of failures in some ways. You know, where you think, you know, we tried to build a house and it collapsed, but you know, we'll build a house and it'll be a foot higher than the other house because of all the rubble underneath. But we are actually able to, you know, the scope of what we wanted to do was massive. It's a crazy idea, you know, an internet operating system with a small team of guys and relatively some decent private funding from ourselves, but you know, it's a massive undertaking. So it's really miraculous that we did it. But the only way you can commercialize that, the only real people who would want that are huge telcos, Google, Microsoft, Facebook, and they all have their own already enough stuff for what they need. So, you know, that's changing now. There's a lot more telcos, and a lot of people want to play into the cloud and the service layers. But traditionally, what happened is that our passion was building this data operating system, but the way to stay in business was to try to build something off of it and sell that. And so we did quite a few things on top of it. Some succeeded, some failed, some were medium, but always we kept, you
initiatives, as well as kind of getting the product positioned, not only the core, but also what they're building on top of it.
Right.
How are you managing all these moving pieces?
Well, it's really, that's a good question. I mean, it's through the years we built up a team of people, and just like a sports team, when you work together with some guys for years and years and years, at a certain point you start to feel like you become incredibly proficient at what you're doing and how to work together. And that's something money can't buy. That's something you develop over time. So, for example, on the BlastTV initiative, we took 3 of our guys who are really the guys who worked with me the longest, and they each took responsibility for an area that should have been a dozen guys. And they worked off the core layer, which was made by a bunch of our guys in Northern Europe, right? So we just let some of the guys focus on the service layer and say, you just keep this machine running and give us the things we need to support our JSON REST calls. And we put 3 guys to build absolutely huge infrastructure on top. But because we've invested so much time with each other and so much time in this technology and just got a working rhythm, we just are, it's a really amazing what we've been able to accomplish with a very, very small team, because it's really huge, the scope of what BlastTV, obviously a data operating system, the scope of that is huge. But then to build a huge thing on top of that, really it's just having great people that can.
So what would you build if in layman's terms for like everyday people? It's really if I wanted to run my own type of social platform, social application, really what you can provide with the core is aside from your own application, you could provide me almost a one-stop shop,
right,
where I can have a lot of the pieces that we understand in social media today, the friending, the following, the contacts, whatever those things are that we're used to right now. You can pretty much power that out of the box, almost.
Yeah, we feel like we put you as, if a bright young 3 college kids said, we have this great idea for something that's one to Facebook and this and that, we put them at the 80% complete on the first day without any scaling concerns. And we've got expansion capability, so if they were to grow, they can add more calls and functions and beef up without having to really architect anything. And then also they can leverage the existing user base we have, because one of the nice projects that we have on top of this data operating system is called Webring, and it supports millions and millions of users per year. So we can cross-leverage those user bases to help people say, hey, try this, try that, try this new thing. It's really like it's the modern ecosystem, how I see it. This is going to be the way things work in the future. You won't have to maintain, the whole world won't run off Facebook Connect. Ultimately, you've got to share data though across, different experiences, right? So the core kind of allows that, but the advantage for using the core is really just absolutely huge, because everybody goes through those same challenges of scaling and all the basics, and we go not only beyond the basics, but we really have some, we've got over 1,000 service calls that you can make, whereas something like Google Apps Engine, they had 6 significant calls when I was looking at it. We've got 1,000, and so you can almost do anything you dream.
And that's huge for any type of entrepreneur. Actually, you pretty much allow them to focus more on the business, on the marketing, on getting the users, than actually focusing on building the whole infrastructure, which obviously, as you know, can take a lot of time and resources.
It's and it helps you to fail fast or succeed fast, because you can't always know. The beauty of entrepreneuring, you get to experiment, you get to try new things, you get to follow your dreams, and half the time they're unmarketable. Half the time you miss something happens, and being able to recover quickly and being able to shift and or at least that was a 2-month job instead of a 2-year job. And the most important thing is really the clock speed nowadays, because how things are moving. 1 month, it's like 10 years, it feels. If you go to sleep and wake up in 6 months, if you have a great idea today, you think it's going to work, and you go to sleep and wake up in 6 months, people might not even know what you're talking about. They might think, yeah, that was the disco. What are you talking about? That's so old, and it's so premium is on time.
So if entrepreneurs, even in Cyprus, even have an idea, even for mobile apps, they can pretty much come to the core, plug in, work with your team, and really get something up to speed a lot faster. You can focus more on the business side of the actual platform, and just kind of either succeed or fail or see where they're going to take it.
Yeah, and it's a great point about mobile, because it's a great way to showcase the power of this data operating system, because that has to apply to the user and enhance their life's experience, or it's just sort of a technical concept. So I'll give you an example of what a core-powered mobile phone would feel like. And so a team of guys could, sit over there, give them the core license keys, and here, go off and do this. And they could do something on a mobile phone where you could drag any object on top of any other object. So I see you, I zoom in on your social network or your business network. I drag you to the left, I see all the documents. I drag that document onto one of your contacts. Then I go and see all the scheduled appointments we have. I drag somebody on that. So that is a big shift in terms of the way people are seeing this. Instead of 8,003 apps, it's like, just give me a better experience on the thing I do 90% of the time when I get on my phone, which is interact with people, documents, schedule, work, or communication at some layer.
Right. So BlastTV is all built on top of the core, and BlastTV you actually built and launched in Cyprus.
And really both of these technologies, we are proud to build them as Cyprus technologies. The key guys that I have are Cypriots. I've been here enough to be adopted, and so really, I do say this is Cyprus technology, and I'm proud to say it's fun as well, to show that we are here on the exact opposite side of the world, pretty much from Silicon Valley, in this parallel universe, that we can do some really cool things, and there may even be some advantage to being clueless as to what they're doing over there, because maybe we just set that you can climb Mount Everest and we don't realize you're only supposed to be able to go up a third of the way. We just didn't know that, so we went crazy and ended up on the top of the mountain somehow. But it's Cyprus technology, and BlastTV is also Cyprus technology. BlastTV, though, incorporated is the company we incorporated into Delaware, because that's something we may want to attract VC funds into at some point. And, so it's best to have a Delaware vehicle for the U.S. investors who are still the most progressive in understanding, a big play like BlastTV.
And BlastTV is an ambitious vision. Obviously, I think, once again, you're ahead of the game in that I know back in the U.S. and back in the Valley, a lot of people are talking about the whole social TV layer, and everyone's trying to figure out that puzzle. A lot of companies trying to work to figure that out, and here comes a Cypriot company, and obviously you're taking meetings with a lot of VCs in the U.S. What's their reaction, number one, to a Cypriot company that seems to have figured out the model, or how to get user traction, and how to get business out of this whole social TV game, and how do you approach the VCs into saying, okay, we have the Cypriot development, but we are the Delaware Incorporated, so work with us to grow this.
I think people have been pretty decent about understanding, the technology is built in Cyprus and all that. The investors are fine with this. Really, not many of the investors, the VCs we've talked to, are able to understand the vision of BlastTV, and I feel that it's because of the noise that I don't want to use they're all speaking the same language, they're all following the same concepts, and as I, looking at an outsider at it, it seems ridiculous, and I think they missed the gold mine, but they missed the gold mine and they're somewhere else, because you're supposed to wear purple shoes and you're supposed to, walk like this, so everybody's wearing purple shoes and they're walking like this, and if you're speaking a different language, you look kind of really odd. So then what happens, if you want to really do something like what we're doing with BlastTV, which is really disrupted in a new way of viewing, I think it's very natural if you look at it without, being caught up in all these concepts of social TV and all these buzzwords and language. You just look at what's happening. The internet wants to connect with real life, and no longer is it, one guy in his underwear talking with somebody else who's on the phone in a coffee shop. Eventually it was obvious that the internet and real life are going to start to blend together. And all the good things from the internet and all the good things from real life it's so noisy, it's unbelievable. This local advertising market, I mean,
It's huge.
everybody knows that's a huge market, and there's tons of great ideas and people going after that, and there's tons of room for tons of great ideas there, really, but in the end of the day, I think we found a really brilliant way to help them, which is give somebody the full power of the full media experience of television, but let them do it on 3 televisions instead of an entire TV station that they can't afford, right? So it's almost like saying, with $50 a month, we bring television advertising to a little local mom and pop shop, and they can advertise exactly where they want, when they want, they're in control. And it's just a different style of content. And really, I guess I've been thinking about it for so long, it doesn't sound that new to me, but when I'm first describing this to people, I can see, as I'm getting better at describing it and showing it, really putting it out there, they're loving it. But, for the first year, nobody knew what I was really talking about. And for the last year, as we've shown this more, and, it started to really get some buzz and excitement going from people on the outside.
Yeah, I think you hit a good point. Like, you look at Airbnb, and if you had said Airbnb 3, 4, or 5 years ago, renting a room via the internet with someone people would be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
I think you made a good point of blending, the internet with our everyday lives. So my question for you is, if you had to explain BlastTV to someone that's not technology oriented, how it would work at your local coffee shop, for instance. So a local coffee shop would have the BlastTV ready to go. How would someone access it or run it or even upload, for instance, their photo of their kid hitting that home run?
Yeah.
Give us a scenario, the real life scenario of what BlastTV really is.
Well, I'll give you 2 angles on it. One is the pitch that we tell a bar owner is basically, hey, you can have your own custom TV, you can control from your smartphone, you can put your own ads on your own TV, and the content's coming from all these cool local artists, and it's free. So that's a pretty easy pitch. And then
that's the business side, the business owner side.
Yeah, that's part of the collaboration, because really it is like, some of at heart I'm really a musician, even though I studied law, that was really an odd thing. Everybody knew that it was very odd that I was in law school. That's not my real natural inclination, more of a creative and team-oriented person. And really, Blast is a jam session, a live collaboration between advertisers, businesses, artists, customers, and we give it a way that they can all participate in that. And really, it has to feel mobile phone driven, because everything's moving to that. So, the TV is there, it's always on, and it's still TV, and it still has a big psychological impact. It's on in all these businesses throughout the community, and it's just, really it's a live jam session of interests, and we just moderated it all in a clever way so that it has a business model, it's fun, it's interesting, it's different, it was a huge juggling act to actually find the way that everybody was, just like managing a band where everybody wants to play a different style, and one guy's like, I don't want him to play while I'm doing my thing, and, just took time to work out through actually implementing it in real live cases and see how to pull that off and then actually do it technically. And like I said, I don't think we would have been able to pull that off with this small team unless we had that core operating layer underneath, because that really saved us a monster amount of time. But, again, it's a product of passion. And when you're really kind of in love with the thing you're creating, it's somehow you find a way to do these things.
So what's the benefit to say, I know that now you're launching artist pages and stuff like, what's the benefit, because you have the bar owner, they have the TV, they have the control, what's the benefit to the artist, and how do they connect in with the customers via your...
Well, the artists are really easy because, as we were saying, there's no middle class there, and they want publicity, and in some cases to sell their stuff. And, what we're doing is saying, okay, listen, you're putting all your great work up on Vimeo, you're putting it up here and there. Artists, they're really great with social media, they're really great with technology in most cases, and they're really, the ones who succeed are really great self-promoters. So the idea of telling them, hey, listen, we're going to do all those things you already do on the web, but we're going to make that available to be selected and played in televisions in the hotspots of the real social community that you live in, and you can influence that bar owner to play your stuff, whereas on YouTube, you they're respected usually by everybody. And if they tell the bar owner, hey, what is this crap put on BlastTV? Because it's all our stuff up there. That's really powerful, and they'll do it. So we get the artist that publicity. Now they can make that to be a free thing, where they're putting it out for free, or they can do a premium check. So if they feel that they can, if they're strong enough that they feel their people will pay for it, and I mean people, I mean business owners, because in general it's very hard to get a consumer to pay for anything like this nowadays. But the business owners will. So for a business owner, if you have a great art channel, we're sitting in an art gallery now. So let's say this guy had it up, and I'm in a high-class Italian restaurant. Let's say there's 10,000 high-class Italian restaurants in the United States who have BlastTV. It's not the case now, but let's just visualize that there were tons of them. So then maybe 600 of these guys might pay $10 to access this gallery and spice up the visuals, the ambiance of while you're eating your dinner. And this artist goes from starving artist to middle-class citizen.
Right. And
everybody wins. So we really have got a lot of support from artists because they love the vision of what we're doing. They love that we're, making them the stars of the show in their own communities, and they love that we're giving them the possibility of promoting themselves in a new city and monetizing some of their work. And so that that is one of the drivers. I think that if Blast succeeds in the level that we think it will, it's because the artists are going to drive this everywhere.
So what are the hurdles now for Blast? One thing that comes to my mind right now, I would imagine is difficult, would be distribution of actually the business owner side of the distribution. So what do you see right now going forward to make your vision happen? What are the obstacles right now that you're trying to pick apart?
Well, the first obstacles were really just the scope of building this massive service with a small team and a relatively small budget. So now that we've actually pulled that off, it's started to get really interesting, because the way we're approaching it is we're going to hit 3 cities with this. And the goal is modest. We started this in Tampa, we started this in Raleigh, and we're going to go right in Brooklyn. Okay? We've done quite a bit over here as well, but most of the kind of international eyes will count what we've done locally here, because they want to see it. Does it fly in the big city?
Right.
Does it fly in New York City? Really?
Brooklyn is pretty much...
Yeah, and not only if it flies in Brooklyn, will it fly in a little Midwestern town? So we're going to all these little things, and what we're learning is what does it take to make these networks come alive in these 3 cities. And once we learn that, and we're sort of in the middle of that lesson, and it's going really well. It's a bit, things always take a bit longer than you think, and there's always challenges, but there's quite a bit of energy behind that. So with these 3 showcases up, we should be able to go to 10 to 30 cities. And the nature of it is during this process, because anybody can just go to the website and get BlastTV. They just have to get a Mac Mini, stick it up on the wall next to their television, set this thing up, send us a mail, and activate them, and they're live. Yeah? So there's nothing theoretically to stop. If a big write-up comes, 5,000 hobbyists and 5,000 businesses, or 50,000 or 5 million, whoever wants to get it can get it. And we've already scaled the service, so we can handle huge volumes in the service, because the core already supports huge volumes of users and other initiatives. So, as always, it's just learning how to apply this in varying different communities. Like Brooklyn is extremely different than Tampa. Raleigh is extremely different than the both of them. And we're applying it in these 3 scenarios, and then really then it just becomes logistics and finance at that point. It's just being organized at that point, doing more of the things, rinse and repeat kind of scenarios, and applying big money to it at the point. It's theoretically possible. This could be done without big money, but usually, it's going to probably attract big money at the stage where it's going from 3 cities to 30 cities, and it's probably going to need it. So we're at a really interesting leg of that journey.
Yeah, especially you're trying to disrupt a pretty big space, and a space that has a lot of attention from a lot of big players as well as entrepreneurs. But
yeah.
I think what you said here, which is really interesting, is that you don't really need a Groupon style of salespeople on the ground going to businesses and sitting with them and consulting. Pretty much any business, once they understand what they can get, can pretty much just launch a
got all the dynamics covered, and I think that, like I said, there's many, many good solutions that are going to come out to help the small businesses, but I'm really proud of the value that's in that model for the small guy, and it's exciting to imagine the possibilities. There's huge economics in it, which is fun, and there's huge excitement in it from the newness, because the beauty of the U.S. they're so hungry for the next big thing, and their appetite, the next big thing they want it like fast and now, so we sense some of that when we're in the U.S. now, that people their eyes were lighting up when they're hearing about BlastTV, because they're thinking, all that cool stuff and all that networking, that's going to come down into my hand, into the TV, and I'm going to be able to participate in my real community, in the places, real social life.
I mean, really social.
Yeah.
I mean,
real social.
You think of Facebook, what you're doing is really social.
Yeah, it's really social. And, life happens and starts from the neighborhood, right? I mean, the neighborhood is the kind of atomic unit of all economic life. And it's also a trend, back to Main Street. I mean, it's a very strong trend. People are going back to they're simplifying a bit. There's a lot of local energy, buy local. So I think that for once, after many years of many great things we've built, not all that we've been able to market, I think we've hit the right niche at the right time with something that has really a lot of fun in it and a lot of value and a lot of potential economics, which can attract a lot of investors and create, this one I think we're going to be able to create some big noise with it.
On the app side, have you guys created an iPhone, an Android? How are you hitting the tablets? How are you hitting the multiple device?
Yeah, we're hitting all of them hard, from multiple aspects. So one of them is we have the BlastTV Manager, which is an iPhone, an iPad, an Android app. And it's super cool. I mean, it just feels like remote control when you switch, immediately. I can visualize people pointing it like this,
And that's for the business owner. So the
that's
business owner has a
business.
manager.
They're managing their TVs. Then we have an app where you can manage your advertising. And then we have a consumer app where you can interact with the TV like a jukebox. You can leave little classified ads. It might not make it on the TV, but it's like a little note. You can leave comments from the owner of the business. You can do some minor league networking. Hey, anybody here, give me a ride to the game. There's, it does, it's very broad, but it does, elegantly all fit together. So really, we're talking about, multiple different kind of apps on all these different devices, and I view that as the primary way that people will interact with BlastTV from all aspects.
Even, I can see right now, even developers wanting to create various type of applications on top of BlastTV, especially if you have the consumers, 30 people sitting in a bar, and it could be a developer that comes in with a sort of quiz show type of app or whatever. I mean, is that in the road? Are you seeing, as it moves on, are you seeing a nice developer kind of play?
It's inherent in how we build core that we have a well-defined API for all the services. So once this lights up, we don't have to go and construct all that stuff. It's there. I just tell people, have at it, because you can't possibly corral all that energy, and it's so new. I think there'll be a lot of interesting ideas in how people will bend this into the local neighborhood, and we can't possibly do all that. So we're going to be in love with the idea of just seeing what people come up with, and it'll be primarily cool mobile app, one-off little tiny things. There's some medium things, but hopefully it'll spawn hundreds of really cool side apps and tie-ins to other kind of things.
How the hell did you come up with this idea? Was there an aha moment, or was there just have the core and just kind of building stuff? Was there?
Yeah.
So this is, you think about it.
I think what it is, I do have aha moments, and I did have one here. I didn't know what it was, but it sounds like all my guys remember when I came up with the idea, and it was nothing like what I'm saying now. But there was a huge aha moment, and I almost view it that in my subconscious, I'd always again thought of things a bit organically, and I know that Nicosia to the Larnaca Airport on the way to the Mobile World Congress in 2009 or so. And I was in the back of the cab, and I just started, writing crazy on this yellow notepad, this concept blast. And it came from absolutely nowhere. And what I wrote was completely incoherent, and everything changed since then. But there was, fundamentally, I wish I could have said all this 2 years ago. It sounded like we were so clever that we knew, we iterated to this through the, trial and error, and we look more clever than we are now because we found this really great formula. But yeah, it was truly a really weird back in the taxi cab kind of wrote the word down and everything else, and the spark of the idea, and I just got crazy with it. That was scary to think it was 2.5 years ago. It took 2.5 years to build this thing. It was not, on top of huge platform. So it's a massive, massive undertaking. And again, we admit we're crazy. We admit it's huge in its scope. But the reason we stay out of the crazy house is we actually did build it. So we actually pulled it off. And so 2.5 years later, we really have this product where we need it to be.
How did you get your team to buy into this development team? Once again, 2.5 years ago, now we can sit there and say, okay, actually, the future is coming to your vision. It's obvious. But 2.5 years ago, people would have said,
I don't know. I think that the guys are pretty. They know how I am. They know I can make a left-hand turn out of nowhere for no reason, and you just have to strap on your seatbelt. But again, it's a mutual trust. I think I trust. I don't meddle with their. They want to do something. They tell me how to do it. I don't tell them how to do it. And when I tell them, guys, we were going to Rome and now we're going to Bangkok, okay, we're going to Bangkok. I mean, they have some confidence in me that I can, it's just a mutual trust. But I don't know why they trust me. But for good reason, they do, or this wouldn't have existed.
So will you always keep, no matter where BlastTV goes, will you always keep that Cypriot-made philosophy? Will you always, no matter what happens with investment or no matter how disruptive or how big it gets, do you see Cyprus playing a continuing role in BlastTV, whether it's technical, whether it's sales and marketing, whatever it is?
Yeah, we're, part of the philosophy that I have. I love these big epic projects. I love the big economics in them. It's fun to imagine jumping around in all the money and the glory of the success. But you try to contribute to the people around you. You try to give back to your community around you. And I've really had a great time in Cyprus. I've been just given a lot of, I was given a lot here, and I'm trying to give back here. And there's not much of a tech culture here, but there's the kernels of. There's so many well-educated Cypriots. They end up, going to Toronto or Los Angeles or Sydney. Some are still here. Cyprus could be an incredible location for innovation, and I'd love if I could play some role in sparking that. So I'm intentionally trying like crazy to make that happen. And you can't do it alone. You got to get the buy-in from the community. You have to establish credibility. Because this is not something, as you can see in some ways, because you're familiar with. This, even for Silicon Valley standards, this is a pretty innovative approach for saying, talking to people here, they wouldn't have really the basis to judge, is this something good, bad, attract some of the best people here. So there's that advantage of staying here, and that's what we're leveraging as well.
Right. So in closing, before we go to Q&A, you know, you're saying, okay, so we can be a New York-based company, we can have an operation in Cyprus. What would you say to any Cypriot entrepreneurs or Cypriots that are kind of looking at the whole tech scene, the mobile apps, and you know how easy it is now to get them off the ground and build something? What would you give them as far as advice into how to, one, get to a prototype, and number two, how to get to something where it could be at a BlastTV level, where you're actually at a stage where you probably disrupt, whether it's a small industry or something very large. What advice would you give to?
Well, I mean, I think the first thing is you got to develop a little peer group like this, right? Because that's how I got inspired to realize you can do these big things, and then, man, somebody can save you so much time and disaster by just giving you some good advice. And so many people have given me good advice. I rarely listen to it, but I'm often influenced by it. And when I am, it often saves you years of struggle. So, you know, and the people who succeed are usually very, very happy to hand out the advice to the guy who's trying. You know, it's particularly like this. So, really, the first is, you know, don't be a know-it-all. You know, there's some brilliant people here, and they tend to, you know, they know they can do it and they can't. But you want to leverage a little bit of the knowledge of people who are, especially if your product is going to fly in the U.S., you've got to understand the U.S. market. If it's built for the local market, it's different. If it's built for Europe, it's different. But really just get as much get as much advice from your peers as you can. And then, after that, just follow your heart, you know, because nobody could have started me or stopped me. Any real entrepreneur, if I could talk them out of it, they're not really a real entrepreneur. You know, everybody tried to talk me out of almost everything I've tried and said it's crazy. And they've been right every time, and every time I've done it. So, you know, at a certain point, you know, you want to get as much good advice as you can, process it. But then sink your heart and find the way, because everybody will tell you you can't do it. And the truth is you can do it, but you better be in love with it, because you know, it's not easy.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Yeah. And you may have to try 3-4 times to pull something off. You know, it's not, you know, it's illogical to think that you could just get up. You know, it happens sometimes, you know, but if you really want to do it, you really got to set your heart on it and stick with it.
Yeah, the whole stigma of failure, you have to get over that stigma of failure.
Yeah, there's no such thing. It's just lessons, man. It's just practicing. You can say it like that.
Awesome. Well, Q&A. I want to thank Stephen for a great fireside chat. BlastTV is the company to be looking at. I want to thank Alpha Gallery for this awesome kind of setting in this great artistic place, which is kind of fitting for BlastTV.
Yeah.
Because now it's lighting its artist pages. And anyone have any questions that they want to pose to Stephen? No? Anyone out there?
I'm trying to understand. This is for suppose restaurants, bars, clubs, whatever. And how do you handle time when people send messages for different ideas, different reasons? How do you handle time and people will queue up and sometimes it's busy enough? Maybe they leave the place and their message is not up on the screen yet.
Yeah, fancy algorithms. So, you know, we try to prioritize certain kinds of content based on the situation with the different algorithms. And we have some pretty cool balancings that we do. And so, you know, things that we try to get immediately, you know, everything's live. That's why I call it BlastTV Live, because it's really a live event. But the fastest, you know, if somebody
It's
sends
not live if the message is sent at the same time from the same place.
Yeah. So, you know, the
that's
idea is you're getting it right up there. There's a screening process in most cases, because a bar owner is not going to let something get up there without him clicking it, right?
Okay, so you have a human intervention there.
Yeah, but it's the bar owner himself, right on his smartphone. So if you are sitting in my bar
Manually?
and you send
Actually, manually screening?
yeah, watch how it happens. Here's our TV right here. You send a picture of your kid up to the thing. I get a text message on my mobile phone immediately. I just open the app, I see the picture, it's okay, click, it's approved. And then we pump those in immediately because, you know, the bar owner is yours as customer. He doesn't want to disappoint you. You send a picture of his TV.
No, but he has other things to do other than handling his phone.
Yeah, and if they want to pay, we have a screening service that they can pay us to do it. But in most cases, these owners are happy to do it because they really giving his customer
screen's going to be always busy.
Yeah, it's an ADD format that we've come up with, really. It's three things at once all the time, right? Because that's the way, I guess I'm ADD, so I naturally see things like that anyway. But most kids are like this nowadays. They're able to see two or three things at the same time. So we have text, we have videos, we have images on the right, and that's another innovative thing we've done is we've changed the concept not only of content on TV to make it short in its duration, but that instead of content, ads, in a sequential way, it's all mixed together. So you might be seeing one funny video, an ad on the right, and some sort of saying on the bottom, some sort of Bob Marley quote or something like that.
On the business side, the money comes from the
advertising. Yeah, it's all the money on the business side is all from the local advertising, and there is some revenue sharing